Hello there and welcome to The Meaningful Stitch. This is episode 19 and I am Amy Boucle. I'm coming to you from Edinburgh, Scotland, and this is my digital home from home, a place where I get to share with you my knitting practice and my knitting projects. Now you may notice if you've been a long time viewer of this channel that it now has adverts where there were no adverts before. And that is partially because YouTube has brought in a blanket policy of adding advertising to all videos, and so I have now selected to monetize. So I just wanted to let you know that this channel is now a monetized channel, and so you will now get adverts at the beginning and at the end, and I will receive a very small amount of money from that, and I'll be using that to pay for things like sending out giveaways, of which I have some things to tell you about, some news on that front. But before I get to all of that, I want to share with you a card that I've drawn for you this morning. And it's from The Heart of Faerie, a wonderful deck, here we go, by Brian and Wendy Froud. It's a beautiful deck, really lovely illustrations. And the card that I drew for us today made me so happy because it is the Lady of Joy. Isn't that beautiful? The Lady of Joy. So I'm just going to read you some of the words from the guide. The Lady of Joy. Joy in the moment, sharing, true gift. To choose the Lady of Joy is to receive a true gift for yourself. She is such an important being. To know her touch is to know pure joy. She comes to remind you that joy can be found everywhere at any moment. It has no size limits, no sell-by dates, no conditions attached. It just is. So accept this gift. Find joy in the moment and pass it on. Joy multiplies when you pass it on to others. It is infinitely large. So if you give some away, you will always have more than enough for yourself. A good thing to remember in a world that can seem joyless much of the time. Faerie is a joyous place. By finding joy in the everyday, you help to make the veil between the worlds thinner and the probability of fairy contact much more likely. So do your duty for the cause of interworld communications and be joyful. There you go. Isn't she wonderful? So there you go. We are being visited today by the Lady of Joy, which I think is completely wonderful. Talking about joyful things, our All the Shawls Cowl is still running and will be running for, gosh, I think it's about another 6 or 7 weeks now, so still plenty time to join in. If you would like to knit a shawl, a cowl, a scarf, anything that can kind of loosely be counted as a shawl, you are more than welcome to join the All the Shawls Cowl. You can do that on my Ravelry group, which I have a link to in the description box, along with links to everything I mention in today's episode. And you can also join in through Instagram. So you can use the hashtags AllTheShawlsCowl, but if you want to enter in for a prize giveaway, then you need to use the hashtag AllTheShawlsCowlFO, and only do that when you have an FO, a finished object, and you'll be added in for the prize draw. And I just wanted to share with you some of the lovely prizes that I've received for you, and we'll be drawing winners for those at the end of the cowl from both the Ravelry group, the finished objects thread that's there, and also from this hashtag AllTheShawlsCowlFO. So today I'm going to show you some yarn that I have received for prizes. So the first one I think you might have seen before. It is beautiful. It is this one by Dye Candy. And it was contributed by Eva of the Perth Yarn Festival, and she sent me this a little while back. It's the Perth Yarn Club exclusive called A Cautionary Tale, and it is 74% brushed baby Suri alpaca and 26% silk. It's on their cloud lace base, and it's 300 meters for 50 grams. And look at those colors. Are they not just completely magnificent? It's even got some, you can see here, some blues and greens. It's gorgeous, and it's so soft. So that is one skein that I have for you. And then I got these lovely skeins in the post, these two skeins here. Now these have been contributed by Lorna, and you'll find her at Never a Loose End on Instagram. And these are from a local to her hand dyer called Cookston Crafts, and she bought it from her local yarn shop called Bath, which I think is in Stonehaven. Yes, it is, in Stonehaven. And aren't these absolutely beautiful? They are 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. They're 425 meters for 100 grams. And this one here is called Fallen Leaves. And this one here is called Brushed Leaves. And they're so perfect together. Aren't they completely gorgeous? What an incredibly generous thing. Thank you so much, Lorna. And then this week I got an amazing package in the post from Boonsong, who from her website is called Fibre Muse Shop, and you'll find her on Instagram as well. I'm going to leave links to all of this in the description box. Boonsong is an amazing hand spinner, and she got in touch with me and asked if she could contribute a skein of hand spun yarn for our All the Shawls Cowl prize giveaway, and I of course said yes. And she sent me this. Isn't this absolutely exquisite? Here's her label. And she says that it's 100% BFL, the colourway is Ranunculus, and there's 283 yards, and it's about 131 grams, and it's a 2-ply. And it's got these beautiful shades of grey and green and gold. There's a little bit of peach and this gorgeous bright chartreuse, which is absolutely stunning. So 100% BFL, so it's lovely and soft. It is just exquisite. So that is also going into the prize giveaway. She was also terribly kind and sent me a skein also, which I will just share with you just now, which is this one here, which is 100% Shetland. And she got my colours spot on, I think. So we've got this beautiful olive and like a dark bluey grey. There's some purple in here. There's some beautiful turquoise. It's just so beautiful. So I just wanted to share that with you also. But there we go. Those are 4 of the skeins that will be going into our prize draw. And I will also have some project bags and some pattern download links as well for you. And I'll be, like I said, I'll be giving all of those away at probably the first week of November, which will be perfect because my birthday is the first week of November. So I get to give away prizes on my birthday, and I rather like doing that. So, so there we go. That's the All the Shawls Cowl. There's still plenty of time to join in. If you are looking for inspiration, you could look no further than Instagram and check out the hashtags, or indeed go onto the Ravelry group and check them out there, because there are some really beautiful pieces of work, such interesting choices of colour and the way that people are putting colour and texture together. It's just incredibly inspiring, so do go and check those out. And if you have joined in so far, thank you for doing so. And there is no limit on how many times you can enter. So if you have another FO, feel free to enter in again. Okay, what do I have next? Well, actually, I've news about another giveaway. And this relates to a trip that I made this weekend, because I went up to Perth for the Perth Festival of Yarn. And Eva, who's the organiser there, very kindly said that the festival would sponsor a skein of yarn that I could then give away to all of you, because I know that a lot of you would have loved to have had the opportunity to have gone to a yarn festival, and that's maybe not possible for you right now, particularly with COVID guidelines, etc, etc. So I have to say that it was incredibly safe at the Perth Festival of Yarn. I didn't feel uncomfortable at all with COVID or COVID guidelines or all of that kind of thing. It was very, very well managed. It was a completely lovely and very joyful event, and I want to share some of that joy with you, and Eva has very kindly helped make that happen. So I have a beautiful skein here, which I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how you can win it later on, but I did just want to show you it just now. So this is it. This is from Kate from Blue Dot Yarns. This is her label here, and this is her special Perth yarn colourway. And it's inspired by David Bowie, and it's called Moon Age Daydream. And this is on her superwash merino nylon base, and there's 400 metres to 100 grams. But isn't it just absolutely beautiful? So I chose this skein for our giveaway because I thought it was just so gorgeous and so perfect. And I will tell you a little bit later on how you can win that. But in the meantime, I will just tell you that Perth Yarn Festival was an in-person event over last weekend. However, it is now an online event, and this weekend there is a special marketplace with exclusives. So if you love this colourway here and you want to go see what other beautiful exclusive colourways are available and other exclusive products, then go and check out Perth Yarn Festival's website this weekend, which is the 18th and the 19th of September, and you'll be able to treat yourself to some beautiful skeins of yarn there and some lovely other products too. So do go check that out. Okay, gosh, that was a lot that we've already moved through. All the admin. So let's get on to some knitting then. What am I wearing? Well, this is my Love Note by Tin Can Knits. It is knitted in BC Garn's Baby Alpaca in a beautiful soft grey, and in Cowgirl Blues Kidsilk in Peaches and Cream. Gosh, I had to reach for that one there. And this is because I actually knitted this 2 years ago when I was trying to think about what did I want to wear for today's programme, for today's episode. I was thinking, well, I'm going to be talking about Perth, and this is the jumper that I knitted to wear to Perth 2 years ago. So so that's what I've decided. So I'll just stand up so you can see. You can see it's this dark grey held with this mohair, and it makes this really pretty marl. And it's got a twisted rib border here. I think I might have knitted my border, my rib a little bit longer here than it's specified in the pattern. It does bobble slightly, but not terribly so. The only other big change that I made is actually in the lace itself, because if you're familiar with the Love Note pattern, you'll know that actually the pattern finishes just here. So you don't actually have this extra row of eyelets, this zigzag row here. That's been added by me. So there we go. I just liked the look of that a little bit better. I felt it finished off the yoke, but absolutely personal choice. It's a lovely pattern. It's a very quick knit because it is knitted on a large gauge. I think it was possibly knitted on a 5.5 or a 6mm needle. So, you know, it really did knit up pretty quickly. And it's very light and very lovely, but quite warm. So I'm feeling a little bit I'm feeling a little bit warm just now, just wearing it. So yes, this is the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. Okay, what do I have for you next? Well, I have a finished object actually, which is sitting right here beside me. This is the Light Festival sweater, and it's by Stephen West. Let me see, because it has a truly enormous cowl. Isn't this huge? So we have this huge cowl, and then we have these eyelets radiating down through the yoke. We have these ribbed sleeves, and then I have done a split hem here. Now I have not blocked this yet because I think when I block this the hem is going to sit nicer than it currently is, but I have not got round to doing that yet. The yarn itself, let me come forward a little bit so you can see, is just beautiful. So it is Skein Queen on their cracking base, which is 100% Corriedale, in the colourway Mountain Heather, which is this beautiful variegated colourway. And then I have held it double with Alpaca Boucle from Hedgehog Fibres in the colourway Cinder, which is really kind of given it this kind of smoky grey colour. One of the things that I did though, because it was quite a very variegated yarn, I decided that I needed to helical knit. And that basically means that I'm knitting with, well, because I'm holding a double strand, I'm actually knitting with 4 cakes of yarn at any one time, which then became a little bit problematic, if I'm completely honest. I got a little bit tangled, so I ended up having to put my yarn into plastic bags, like IKEA freezer bags, and I sealed them up to stop everything from getting terribly tangled, and that helped significantly. So there you go, there's a top tip. But yes, and the reason why I did the helical knitting was to stop any pulling from happening. If you're not familiar with pulling, you can see it in this jumper. So you can see that the pink here and the yellow here, they've started to gather in the fabric. So you get like a concentrated shade in one part of the fabric. And I don't mind that on this, but I decided that I didn't really want it on this jumper here. So so that is why I've tried to do my helical knitting, to try and disperse the colourways as much as possible. You can see on both sides. There we go. This is a super warm and super cozy jumper. I will put it on. I was just trying to decide whether I was going to put it on for you or not, but I think I will. So take this one off and put this one on. It is, like I said, it is a huge cowl neck. So it's really beautiful. It is very much a statement cowl. I'm going to try and get this on over the top of my my hair pin, which will be interesting. Oh, there we go. Here we are. Oh, what's this? It's a loose end. Oh dear. I obviously forgot that one. There we go. So here is the cowl neck. Now, like I say, I've not blocked it, so it probably will lie a little nicer once I've finished blocking it. But look at these sleeves. I love the ribbed sleeves. They took a long time to knit, I would say, because of the 2x2 rib, but it was well worth it because they are beautiful. I'll stand up so you can see the... So it comes quite low down on me, and here's a split hem, so the back is slightly longer, and knitted it slightly longer than the front. And then we have these radiating eyelets in the cowl, in the yoke. And then we have this huge cowl neck, which is just so snuggly and so warm. It's really very warm, particularly when our weather hasn't quite cooled down as much as anticipated. So so this is definitely going to be a jumper for maybe next month. or whenever our temperature starts to tumble, it will be an absolutely perfect choice for that then, I think. It literally, in fact, I wrote a piece for my Patreon about how this actually feels like I've knitted myself a cocoon. You know, we're going through such big changes through moving to this new flat and our children moving out, and we really feel like we're stepping into a new phase of our lives and a new chapter. And so it really made me think a lot about butterflies and about how they create their cocoon at times of great change in order to hold a safe space for those changes to happen. And I feel as though this is my cocoon, this is my safe space, my cozy jumper where I can curry in. It's a lovely Scottish word, to snuggle up, to curry in and keep cozy, and to go through the changes that are finding us at this point in our lives. So there we go. So this is the Light Festival sweater. I think it came out last year. It's by Stephen West, who, as you know, is one of my favourite go-to designers. I think this is possibly, it's not the very first. I think it's the second jumper pattern that I've knitted from him. Everything else I've knitted has been a shawl. But it was really the pattern was very clear, very well written, very easy to follow, and I think it's worked out really well. I think I knitted the large size, which gives me some positive ease, but not not a lot, not masses, because I wanted it to be snuggly, but I didn't want to feel as though I was being swallowed up by it. So enveloped, not swallowed. So there we go. That's my finished object for this week. It's the light festival sweater. I do really love this big statement cowl. This yarn, the Skein Queen yarn, was a gift from my parents for my 40th birthday. The Cinder, which is the Alpaca Boucle, was yarn that I picked up the following year in Amsterdam at Stephen and Penelope, and that was the last time that we left the UK before all the world changed. So it's been sitting in my stash for a while, waiting for the perfect project, and I do believe that I have found the perfect project. I think I mentioned last time that I was going to see if I had some of the Alpaca Boucle left over, and if I did, I was going to use that with some one of those crazy Zorber balls. That's what they're called, right? I got 2 of those, and I was going to use that with any leftover of the Alpaca Boucle to make an Illuminate by Andrea Mowry. So I weighed up how much I had left, and I do have enough left over for that. So that's going to be a good use of my leftovers. I don't have a lot left over of the Skein Queen at all, and that was really quite purposeful, because what I did was I kind of changed the order in which you would normally knit a jumper. So, and certainly from the way that it gives you in the pattern. I'm using the word jumper because that's what we call it over here, but I'm aware that we don't call it a jumper over in the US, that's an entirely different garment. But for me it's a jumper, for you it's a sweater probably, so if you're watching from the US. But the pattern has you start with the cowl, and then come down to the yoke, and then divide for the sleeves, and then knit the body, and then pick up for the sleeves and knit down both sleeves, so you finish at the sleeves. I didn't want to do that because I wanted to use up as much of this beautiful yarn as I possibly could. And so I knitted the cowl, and then I knitted the yoke, and I split for the sleeves, and I knitted maybe about 1 inch or 2 of the body, and then I ran out of my first skein. So I stopped knitting on the body altogether, and I picked up for the sleeve, and I knitted one full sleeve until it was the length that I wanted it, which is a little bit past, coming a little bit further up my hand. I'm hoping it doesn't stretch too much in the blocking. I'm going to have to be quite careful about that, I think, because I don't want to lose my hands altogether, and it makes knitting a bit more tricky. So, and then I did the same for the other one, and I think I did 15 decreases altogether. The decreases are actually very smart, because basically you have this band of stockinette that's kind of eating up the rib, and it makes a really lovely effect actually on the inside of the sleeve. I'm not sure how well you're seeing that. There you go, you can see it a bit there. So it looks very smart actually. And yeah, so I knitted my sleeves to the desired length, and then I started again on the body, and I just knitted the body as long as I could really, while still making sure that it didn't end up a dress. And then I did my split hem, and I've ended up with a little bit of the cracking base, the Skein Queen Corriedale left over, but I was thinking maybe I could possibly use it in a hat, or maybe just like the rib of a hat or something, so that there's not enough for a whole one, but I thought maybe I could make a little feature of it by adding it to an accessory. So there we go, that is the light festival sweater. My modifications are, like I said, the split hem, the split asymmetric hem, and obviously substituting a completely different yarn. You'll see actually in the pattern that the designer has this as a striped jumper, quite broad stripes. So I didn't go for that, I just went for an all over colour instead rather than the stripes. I'm super happy with it, it's really lovely, it's very cosy, very warm. So pulling a little bit at the neck because I just feel really warm in it. But I think it was going to be completely perfect. As you know, I have recently moved to a home beside the harbour, and we get these very thick sea fogs that come off the water, which we call the har, and it really does drop the temperature significantly, and it does become quite a chilly place in the winter time. So this is going to be absolutely perfect, but not quite for this month yet. So I'm going to take it back off and try and get it back over my hairpin. So there we go. This is the Light Festival sweater. Oh, there we go. And yes, super happy with it. And it is very warm. So I'm going to pop that down there for just now. Put my Love Note sweater back on. But that is my only finished object just now, but I do have, oh dear. Okay, I fixed it. It's a problem with having piercings. So, I do have some works in progress for you. Oh dear. What am I going to start with? I'm going to start with this, because this fulfills part of a promise. So I said that I was going to cast on these next, and I have. So I'm really pleased to report that I have made some progress. So these are the Lord of the Isles kilt socks, and I have started, there you go, you can see the cable pattern that goes up the leg. So I have knitted the foot, turned the heel, knitted part way up the leg, and then I have switched onto my larger needles, and I'm now knitting the cable repeat. So I think there's maybe about 11, from what I can remember, there's maybe like 11 repeats of this cable up the leg. So still got quite a long way to go, but I not only have that, but I also have this, because this is how I knit my socks if I'm going to knit socks these days. Oh dear, these stitches are coming off. I have decided that actually the only way I really manage to get socks knitted is when I am knitting them in tandem. So basically I start one sock and I knit the foot and however much of the leg I need to, and then I switch on to the other one, and then I start that, and I start the toe, and I knit the foot and the bit of the leg, and then I'm now knitting this whole cable repeat up the leg on one, and then I'm going to stop that, and then I'm going to come back to this one, and I'm going to do the cable repeats on this one, and then I'll go back to the first one and I'll knit the rib cuff, because it's quite a deep rib cuff. Because if you know what a kilt sock looks like, it comes all the way up the leg, and then to just below the knee you have quite a thick rib cuff, and underneath the rib cuff you have a little garter that sits with some tartan fabric that kind of matches the kilt that comes down the side of the sock, and those are called the flashes. So so you need quite a deep rib cuff. So so I'll do that on the other one and cast off, and then I'll do it on that one, and that way I will have two socks basically finished around about the same time. So my yarn, just to tell you, here it is. It is Coop Socks, yeah, DK. I'd say it's quite a fine DK. It's I would have said maybe it was more of a sport weight than it was a DK, but it's knitting up beautifully. My one complaint I think would be is that sometimes it's a bit splitty, and that it was horrendous to cake up. It's a very lively yarn. It wants to leap off my spinner, my ball winder. But I did get there in the end, so I have caked up all my yarn. This basically uses up, well actually I can show you on the other one how much. I've only got that much yarn left from the first cake, and that was having knitted the foot and up to 4.5, I think it is, inches from the foot, from the heel. So not very much yarn left there at all. So I bought five skeins altogether to do the 2 socks, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be enough. So these are for my daughter's partner, and he and she are going to go to, I think it's his cousin's wedding next month, and she is a kilt maker. My daughter is a kilt maker, and she has made him a beautiful kilt in a really lovely heathered, I think it's a Hebridean tartan, and it has this kind of smoky blue shade through it, and so I think these socks are going to be absolutely perfect match for that. So I'm hoping I might have some photographs to show you once they're all complete and worn as a full outfit. That would be fabulous, but I will need to ask for that, and I'll need to ask permission to see if they're comfortable with that. But that would be a lovely thing to be able to show you. This is the second time that I'm knitting this pattern. It's the Lord of the Isles socks by Kate Davies. I knitted a pair for my son for his 21st birthday, which was last October, when he received a kilt for his birthday. My youngest son will be turning 21 next year, so I will be knitting another pair of socks next year. So basically I'm knitting like 1 pair of kilt socks a year at the moment. It's about my average. I was going to continue doing the cable because I managed to get all of that done in a week, and just about 5 days, which was amazing for me because I am not a fast sock knitter. But when I picked up to work on the cable on Saturday, I felt that I had some pain in my hands, and I really have not found a way to knit socks that is comfortable for me and my knitting style. I don't think I have a particularly unusual knitting style, but for some reason I just haven't found it yet. So I decided that the best thing to do was, rather than persist, because I do still have some time, the wedding is at the end of October, that I could put that project down and just cast on something easy, something that was going to be a bit of a quick win. And so I decided I was going to knit a ranunculus. Now, if you watch Selma over at Little Big Knits, you'll know that she's been doing a Ranunculus Cow, and she shared another beautiful one on her most recent episode that she's knitted for a friend. And I have knitted quite a few ranunculuses. I don't know what the plural of that would be, but I have knitted quite a few of those in the past, and I find it a lovely pattern. It's very easy to knit. It is just in one size. I think she did bring out, the designer did bring out a modification for a larger bust, but I wouldn't say it's terribly size inclusive, but there are a lot of options around it concerning what weight of yarn you use, and that will certainly adjust the size of it. But like I say, it's not the most size inclusive, and that would be my main complaint, I suppose, really about the pattern. That said, I have knitted quite a few of them, so I had a couple here to show you so that you can see previous ranunculuses. This is one of the ones that I knitted, and this is, see this pretty pattern, this yarn really showed up the pattern beautifully. This is grey, light grey cotton, 4-ply cotton called Drops Saffron, and I think it cost me like £1.60 a ball or something really, really inexpensive. And then I had this lovely silver mohair that matched it beautifully from Mohair de Ferme de France, and so this is my silver ranunculus, and it feels beautiful. You've got the slightly puffed cuff. That doesn't sound right, but let's go with it. And I've knitted it a little bit longer than it says in the pattern. That was not the first one I knitted though. The first one I knitted was this one, which is my gold ranunculus. So I've knitted a silver one and a gold one. Again, I did this. I did the cuff as it says in the pattern. And this is knitted in Isaiah's Highland wool and Isaiah's silk mohair. And I just love this yarn. You can actually see that even although it's gold, it's got actually quite a lot of different colours in it. It's really very pretty. So there we go, that's another one. One more. Bright pink this time. This is DK and this is Wensleydale. DK Wensleydale. And I love this. This was West Yorkshire Spinners Little Gems, I think they were called, and I think they've been discontinued unfortunately because it's such a glorious yarn. Look at this colour, completely gorgeous. The one thing I would say though is that that this is shedding a lot, so I think I'm actually going to give it another wash and see whether that stabilises the fibres a little bit better. But again, it shows up the pattern and the yoke really beautifully. So one more ranunculus. So I decided that I was going to cast on a ranunculus, and so partially because I've knitted it before, it's an easy pattern for me, it's a quick knit, but also because I really want a black jumper, but I do not like knitting in black yarn. I'm not sure anybody really likes knitting in black yarn. It really isn't very easy to see your stitches. It's something that works, that you can do easier in the daylight than it is with artificial light, which makes things a little bit problematic, particularly when you live in a northern climate and it starts to get dark so early on in the day. So I thought, well, if I am going to knit a black jumper, it has to be an easy pattern, it has to be a quick knit, it has to be on big needles and it has to be knitted this month, because if I wait until October, there's no way it's going to happen because it will be too dark, and then I will have to wait another year for a black jumper. So on Saturday I cast on a black ranunculus. That's the short story. Sorry. So this is what I've got so far. Of course, because it's black, you will not see the pattern on it, not like on the others at all. But if I bring it up a bit closer, you can start to see the texture a little bit better. Obviously as well, when it blocks, I think you'll see it better. And I'm hoping when it's worn, oh, there we go. Oh, but I've completely blown out. There we go. So I think it's going to be really lovely. It's just going to be an easy piece to throw on, an easy piece to wear. I have actually now finished the body. I've knitted the body a bit longer than I have on the others, so I've knitted 10 inches from the sleeve, and my intention is to do 4 inches of twisted rib, so I suppose quite similar to this rib here on the love note. In fact, I think I maybe did the same length on my first ranunculus as well, so this will be about the same, but this one's shorter in the body. So the black one will be longer in the body but the same depth of rib. So my yarn, well, I'm using black Kidsilk from Drops, so really affordable mohair option, and I picked this up from Wool Warehouse, and I'm using this, and this is a Cone of Mystery yarn. Cone of Mystery. It's a cone of yarn that I found in a charity shop on Morningside Road. Morningside Road is perhaps the best place to go charity shop hunting. You never know what you're going to find. I'd say the other best place in Edinburgh is Stockbridge. So if you're in Edinburgh or you're visiting Edinburgh and you want to go trawling through some charity shops, thrift shops, then those are the two streets that you really want to hit up. But this is what I found in one of them, and it's kind of like you can see it's almost like a charcoal really, because there's like a white fibre through it. It said that it was, I bought this one and I bought an enormous cone of purple and a smaller cone of kind of like a magenta pink. And I think I think I bought 3 at the time. And they all said Shetland. Whether it is Shetland or not, I have no idea. It does feel like it has spinning oil in it. So I'm hoping that it's going to bloom. In retrospect, I should have knitted a swatch and washed it, and then I would have had a better idea of what this is going to do when I when I've finished the sweater and washed and blocked that. But we'll discover. We will discover what happens. So there we go. This is this cone of mysterious Shetland yarn that, well, Shetland yarn. Really don't know if it's Shetland or not. So we'll discover how it knits up and how it washes out. So this is what it looks like just now. It's got quite a crisp texture to it. I'm quite glad that I've knitted it with the mohair, which has softened it significantly. But like I said, I'm hoping that when it's washed, the cone yarn softens up, because we'll be getting rid of all of the spinning oil, and I'm hoping that it blooms. So there we go. I've finished the body. I'm just working on the deep rib, 4 inches of twisted rib, and then I'm going to come back and then I'm going to knit the sleeves. Now, unlike the sleeves that I've been knitting on the other 3, which have got this kind of puffed section, so you do sort of short rows to create a little bit of a, there you go, you can see it a bit better there, so you create a little bit of shaping around the edging there, and then you finish it off with an I-cord. I'm not going to be doing that on these ones. I'm going to be knitting it straight down, and then when I get to my wrist, then I'm going to knit 2 together the whole way round, and then I'm going to knit a bit of ribbing just to finish it off. So it'll have a slight balloon effect, and I'll have a little bit of the ribbing at the edge, which will match the rib at the collar and the hem. So that's my plan. So there we go. That's my black ranunculus. It's knitting up very quickly. Like I said, I cast that on Saturday, and I haven't worked on it every day because, well, on Sunday I was at Perth Yarn Festival, and I was not going to bring a cone of yarn to a yarn festival. So cones of yarn are not terribly friendly for transporting to different places. So I cast something else on. So this is my 3rd cast on. And you're going to laugh at me. I should be laughing at me. I've cast on another half and half. I know. You don't need to say anything. I know. So I cast off my 2nd half and half just before we moved here. So that must have been late July. And obviously I now have the half and half wrap. I now have 2 half and half wraps. The half and half wrap, I should say, is a free pattern from Pearl Soho. It's called the Half and Half Triangles wrap. The wonderful ladies over at Caddy Jack's Knits have been running a Cowl, which I think finishes Rhinebeck weekend. And so that's what kind of started all of it off. But now that I actually have the finished object, what I find I'm really missing is I'm missing the actual project on my needles. So I decided, and I know that I said I wasn't going to buy any more yarn, but you didn't really believe me, did you? Because I did buy more yarn, because I didn't have enough yarn in 2 colours to do another half and half wrap. So I decided that I was going to knit another one, but I don't need another half and half wrap, is the honest truth. I have 2, so I don't really need another, I don't really need a 3rd. So I thought I would knit one in colours that I think my daughter will like. Now, I'm pretty sure she doesn't watch this this podcast, so I feel free like I can tell you this, because it's going to be a surprise. I'm not telling her that I'm knitting this, so you'll all know and she won't. But there we go. So this is Slow. I don't know if you can see, it says beautiful, deep, oh that's great. Look at that colour. It says deep, dark, black with purple, just kind of shot through it. It's absolutely beautiful. I've made a little bit of a beginning, obviously not very much. I do just have to show you what my stitch marker is though, because it's a little barrel of whiskey. It actually says whiskey on it, you can see. So there you go, that's my cute stitch marker. I was given that for my birthday a few years ago from one of my friends at Knit Night. It's very cute. So there we go, I've started knitting a new half and half. It is in Holst Super Soft, which is what my first half and half was in. And this is the colour that I'm going to be matching it up with, and it's called Robin's Egg. And you can see it's kind of got these sort of purpley, reddish fibres mixed through. I love the Holst Super Soft because it has these heathered colourways. So then you see these two together, and that's what it's going to look like. This dark purple with this beautiful aqua green, and she has such beautiful colouring. She's olive skin and very dark eyes and dark hair, and she has always really suited these colours, so I think it'll look really beautiful on her, and I think it will be a lovely surprise, and it will continue to keep me company and be my go-to comfort knit over the coming months. It's not a quick knit, as you all know, because you have been with me, I think possibly every episode, if not every episode, most episodes of the Meaningful Stitch. I have had a half and half on the needles, so these are long projects, and I do enjoy it, and I'm in it for the long haul. It's my comfort knit in the evenings when I'm sitting watching the television and I don't want to focus on doing a particular cable repeat, or I don't want to knit black yarn because I can't see my stitches. So although this isn't that far off, so we'll see how we get on as it gets darker and darker. It's part of the reason why I cast on the darker colour first, was because I thought it's going to be easier to knit the lighter colour during the darker months. So yes, that's why I've cast another one of these on. I will not finish this by the Cowl deadline, but that's okay because I already have 2 entries in. So, and Pearl Soho have contributed some amazing prizes for the giveaway for that. So yes, that's exciting. And I should say again, I won't be at Rhinebeck this year. It's not feasible for me to travel over to the States at this time, and in fact not travelling anywhere at the moment apart from Perth, which is an hour away from my home. So so yes, not much travel happening on the cards right now, but I will be there in spirit, and I'm looking forward to seeing the photographs of everybody in their half and halves. I think that'll be a wonderful thing, and I will just enjoy it vicariously for just now. So those are my 3 cast-ons. What's next on my needles? So when I said that I'd bought the yarn for the half and half, I had bought some more yarn at the same time. So this is for the Stephen West Cowl, which will be starting in October. And of course the news about it came out. It's going to be called Shawlography, so it's about the place where choreography and knitting meet, and it's got this lovely dance theme to it. I just love dance. I love watching it. I always feel deeply moved by it when I'm watching it. So I'm really excited about it, and I participated in the last 2 Stephen West knit-alongs. So I will show you the 2 previous ones before I go on to show you what I've chosen for the next. So this is Flake. So this is the one that came out a couple of years ago, and I have knitted it in Snaildon, which is this gorgeous rustic yarn which I picked up from Midwinter Yarns. In fact, I think I bought this yarn at Perth Yarn Festival 2 years ago. I think this would have been, would that be right? Or maybe 3 years ago. No, it must have been 2 years ago. It must have been 2 years ago. It would be 2019. So I picked this up from Midwinter Yarns at Perth Festival of Yarn in 2019, and this was the 2019 MCAL, and it was called Starflake, and it started with this kind of modular knit where you would knit a little diamond, and then you would pick up your stitches and you'd knit another one onto it, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then another, and then you picked up your stitches along to create these chevrons. And then you moved on to the brioche, and there was a non-brioche option for those that didn't want to do brioche. And then you had this amazing border which used these kind of short row sections and these big eyelets, and then a stripy I-cord. So again, it's a mammoth knit, these all are, but I just love this one. I didn't get to wear this one much last year because my husband ended up wearing this one a lot because we were living in our flat right before, and we didn't have double glazing in that flat. It was a rented one, and the windows weren't very well fitting, and so they would let in a lot of cold air. So my husband, when he was working from home, of course, like so many were, used to put this on to keep himself cozy. So I didn't see a lot of this last year, but it is such a lovely, lovely knit. I'm really pleased with this one, and I kind of wanted to see what it would be like to knit up Stephen West Mystery Knit Along in colours that were a bit more neutral and in a yarn that was a bit more rustic. So that really let me experiment with that, and certainly to see it in contrast with the way in which a lot of other people were knitting theirs, which was in highly variegated yarns or in superwash yarns and things. So it really did create, I think, quite a different effect. Not a better one or a worse one, or because I love superwash and variegated dyed yarns as well. I'm not a yarn snob in that respect, but yes, I thought it would just give me something a bit different, and I was intrigued, so I wanted to explore that. And then there was last year's one, which was the Slip Stravaganza, and I knitted this one in Holst Super Soft and with a mohair dare of Ching fibre in, I think it's Punjabi, I think it's called, in their mohair silk base, so Ching fibre mohair silk. So again, you're starting off with this section up here, then picking up your stitches with the slip stitch section here, and then moving into here, and this is where I decided to start adding a bit of mohair. And then moving up here, these were such fun little triangles to knit. And then this slip stitch chevron border, which is huge. This was a lot of knitting, let me tell you. Can you see? Still going. That was a big border, hey? It's a big border. So there we go. That was the Slip Stravaganza. And that was last year's. So, cut to this year. Shawlography. I was not going to buy any more yarn. I was going to be really good. I was going to go through my stash, and I did go through my stash. And as is so often the case, I find this with my wardrobe as well. When I look in my wardrobe and I go, I have nothing to wear. When I look through my stash, I go, I have nothing to knit. And of course that's not true, but I did not have enough yarn in any of the colours that wasn't already assigned to another project. I tend to buy yarn for projects, so that means that when I do have a whim to cast something on, quite often I don't have the yarn that I need. So anyway, when I saw all of the beautiful kits that were coming out, I couldn't resist, and I thought, okay, so I started putting together different colours. I decided I was going to go for Holst Super Soft again. It's a very affordable option when you buy direct from Holst. It's really pretty inexpensive, and the shipping certainly to the UK, didn't cost me very much, and it arrived very quickly. So I had to decide, you know, what kind of colours I wanted to use. Well, earlier this month, I had my parents over, and they had been over at my grand's, and my grand's house was being sold, and all our parts and pieces had been worked through, and they decided what was being kept and what was being thrown away, and you know who was going to be getting which things, and you know, photographs and things like that. And they discovered there was some yarn, so I got some yarn and I also got a couple of project bags, and this is one of the project bags that I got. Isn't that glorious? With these wooden handles. I'm going to have to change the lining, I think, because the lining's a little bit torn, but I loved this fabric. So I decided when the Stephen West M Cowl came up that I would actually use this bag and this fabric as my inspiration for my yarn choices. So this is my horse, super soft, for my Stephen West M Cowl. So I'll show you what I've got. I have, sorry for the rustling. There we go, that's easier. I have Jasper, which is this dark red with kind of lighter fibres through it, and almost like a bluish, can you see the light blue flecks through it also? I have Brandy, which is this gorgeous orangey red. I have Violet, or Viola, sorry, Viola. And then I have, what's this one called? Scarab, which is this deep gold. And I have Straw, which is kind of like this lighter gold colour. So you can see them together. They're actually the same as these two here. This one here and this one here are the same shades. I really like them as neutral because they're soft. They work better with my skin tone, I think, than some of the cooler colours. And I thought they really worked well for the fabric, because as you'll see, let me pull these two up. You see there's this colour here and this one here. And then here's the red and the dark red. And here's my purpley blue. So I'll show you them all together if I can. Whoop. So there you go. That's the 5 shades, and I've got 2 balls of each. There you go. You can see them a bit better there. So those are my colours for the shawlography, the next Stephen West M Cowl. I'm very excited about it. I'm looking forward to casting on. I can't wait to see what he's got planned for us. It's always exciting, and it's always a lot of fun. I would say that his patterns are always very well written, very well described. He quite often does video tutorials to help you with anything that might even be just a little bit challenging or a little bit tricky. He does that particularly so with the mystery knit-alongs, so he really brings you along with them. So if you're thinking about it and you're worried that you might not be able to manage it because you think it might be too difficult, then I would still encourage you to have a wee go at it, because he really does offer quite a lot of support through his YouTube tutorials. And like I said, my yarn really didn't cost very much at all. It cost less than £30, I think, when I bought it straight from Holst. Holst Super Soft is not super soft in that it doesn't feel very soft. It is soft for a rustic yarn, I would say, but don't expect it as like a superwash merino, because it's not the same kind of fabric that's created at all. I would also say that it washes a lot softer than it knits with. So so when you're knitting with it, it doesn't feel all that soft, and that's because it has spinning oil in it, kind of like what I was saying about the cone just before. So so yes, that's just something to be aware of. I love this yarn. I really like it. I find it very soft and very comfortable to wear. Obviously, I've got this in a shawl. It feels soft to my neck. I don't have any issues. I don't have any issues wearing it at all. It feels lovely and cozy and warm. But if you do have any kind of sensitivities to more rustic yarns, and maybe it's not your go-to yarn, but I think it's lovely and soft and cozy and warm, and I love the heathered shades, and I think it's exceptionally good value, and so it is one of my workhorse yarns of choice, and the range of colours is truly phenomenal. There's so many colours to choose from. So yes, I'll be knitting up my Stephen West M Cowl in Holster Super Soft. So there we go, and that's going to be, I'm going to put it back into my bag, which was my Gran's. So there we go. The other thing that I received from my Gran is an old spinning wheel, and it's a family heirloom that's been passed down from the croft in Orkney, which is where her family is from. And so that is now sitting in my living room. I am not a spinner, and I have never been a spinner, but I do really love the idea of learning how to, well, I think it is functioning, but I'm not sure how well it's functioning, because I really don't have a clue about what I'm doing with these things. So I need to do some learning, I need to do some research, but I would love the thought of being able to spin up some yarn on this particular wheel that I could then knit something with. So that's a slightly longer term project, but yes, lovely to have in the house, in my new home, and a lovely piece from my Gran. So there we go. What do I have for you next? Oh, what's next on my need as well? I just wanted to talk a little bit actually about a pattern collection that I bought, which is from Joji Locatelli, and it's called Ready for Fall. And it's such a lovely wee collection, I just couldn't resist. It's got a really lovely beanie hat pattern, which I think, oh, Change Your Mind it's called. And it's got quite a deep rib, and then this lovely lace pattern for the crown. I really like it. And actually that's one of the reasons why I bought the collection, is because I like the hat so much. But when I looked at the hat, then I also thought, oh no, I really like that jumper too. She's got a gorgeous pullover called Newspaper, and it's a brioche jumper, and it's quite simple, but it's got these broad stripes of two-colour brioche that where she switches the colours around. I think it looks really lovely, and I'm very intrigued to see perhaps how it could help me with my scraps issue. so that might be fun to play with, I thought. So then when I realised there was two patterns that I liked in it, I looked at the rest of the collection. She has a beautiful shawl pattern called Some Me Time, and it's in 2 different weights, and it uses feather and fan to great effect. She has a cowl pattern called Forever and Ever, which is knitted up in mohair, which has a lovely cable repeat on it, which is really beautiful. I even like the socks, which are called the Caramel Sauce socks, which are really cute, and they're knitted up in La Bien-Aimée sport weight, and I thought they've got a lovely lace pattern down the front. I just thought they were really lovely. So I'm even considering knitting socks. So those are the patterns in the collection. So you might want to check that collection out too. It's very well priced for all of the work and all the love that has clearly been poured into it, and yeah, a really lovely collection of patterns. Okay, are you ready for some Perth purchases? And once again, I know I did say that I wasn't purchasing more yarn, but you can't go to a yarn festival and not buy any yarn, right? So, this is what I got. Sit cross-legged. This is what I got. I got these two skeins of lace weight lamb's wool, and it's Kinross lamb's wool. So it's made by a company that is local to Perth, and this colour is called Wildflower, and I bought this at Wee County Yarns. Again, I'm going to put links to all of these in the description box so that you can explore that. But it is this beautiful bright lilac shade. It's very soft, but again it's got some spinning oil in it, so it's going to be even soft. It's already soft just now. It's much softer, I would say, than the super soft. So it's going to be even softer. And actually, the lady at the Wee County Yarn stall gave me an example of cashmere that had been knitted up, and then this yarn that had been knitted up, and it was not far off, I can tell you. It was divine. So I bought myself 2 skeins of this. You get 675 metres to 100 grams. So I don't know what I'm going to knit with it yet, but I'm excited about this. Really excited about this. And then I went back to Midwinter Yarns, where I'd bought the Snaildon from a couple of years before, and I bought this hot pink Lithuanian linen lace weight. Isn't it completely fabulous? You get 450 metres to 100 grams, so it's kind of like a light fingering weight, heavy lace. My plan is to knit it up with some Lithuanian linen that I had purchased from Midwinter Yarns at Edinburgh Yarn Festival a good few years ago now, and it's this shade here, which is this kind of very dark purple. So I think held double to create a marl would be a really interesting combination. I think it would make a really lovely fabric. So that's my plan for that, and I'm not quite sure, but it will be a top of some sort because I've got about 900 metres. So, and it'll be, when held double, it'll be 900 metres of fingering weight. So if you know of a pattern that would use 900 metres of fingering weight and would look lovely in a linen yarn, then please do let me know. And then I bought these 2 skeins from Debonair Yarns, and this is in lavender and this is in popsicle. The popsicle's blowing out a little bit. That's better. There you go. And you can see it's got these beautiful little pops of purple, which really, I think they work really well together. It's on her Frisky Sock 4-ply base, which is 100% high twist extra fine merino superwash. 365 metres for 100 grams. And after I bought these 2, I couldn't resist buying this to kind of go with it. And this is from Needle and Thread. There's their label. Can you see it? Needle and Thread. And this colour is called You're Turning Violet. It's 50 grams, 425 metres of mohair and silk. 72% mohair, 28% silk, so it really is just gleaming. But I thought possibly these would make a really lovely striped S-jam, and I have knitted that one before and I really like it. This would be quite a radically different colourway from the other striped S-jam that I've knitted. So there we go, that's another little purchase. And then I treated myself to some of the most exquisite yarn. I was contacted actually by Kate from Blue Dot Yarns, and she left a lovely comment on my on an Instagram photograph asking if I was going to go to Perth, and she really prompted me into considering it a bit more seriously than I had, and I started looking into it and we had a free weekend, and so I bought the ticket, I booked a hotel, we found a table at one of our favourite places to eat in Perth, which is called the Two Chihuahuas, incidentally, if you're in Perth or going to Perth. So we ended up going up there. So it was really lovely to meet Kate in person. Hi, Kate. And this is the yarn that I got from her, which is her, again, Moon Age Daydream colourway, especially for Perth. But this was the only 2 skeins that she had dyed onto brushed baby alpaca and mulberry silk base. Isn't it absolutely exquisite? So yes, like I said, I have this skein in the same colourway. You can see here, look at those speckles. Look at the speckles. Absolutely stunning. So I have this skein for you. And to enter into the giveaway to win this, I wanted you to tell me in the comments what is bringing you joy in your making right now. And so to enter in, you need to like this video, subscribe please, and then leave a comment telling me what is bringing you joy in your making. And I will select a comment from random, and on our next episode I will tell you who has won this beautiful skein of yarn. Again, it is 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon, 400 meters to 100 grams in the Moon Age Daydream colourway, and that's from Blue Dot Yarns. And the other thing I will tell you too is if you do really love this colourway, and there's other beautiful colourways also which are Perth exclusives, they are all going to be for sale on the Perth Yarn Festival website at their online marketplace this weekend. This is the 18th and 19th of September, and I highly recommend that you go and check it out and maybe go and treat yourself to a skein or 2 as well. So, but I will be giving away this skein on our next episode to somebody who has liked and subscribed and commented on this video. Okay, what is bringing you joy in your making? That's your question. Okay, one last little thing. That's all of the yarn. And goodness me, that's been a lot of yarn, a lot of knitting. And I just wanted to say though, thank you so much to everybody who commented on the previous episode about ideas for things to do with all of my yarn scraps. As you saw, I had a lot of scraps. I have a lot of ends of skeins and like stray spare balls of yarn, and so it would be really lovely to do something with all of those, and you just gave me so many ideas and so many suggestions. So I want to do a special episode that just focuses in on scraps. So I'll be sharing some of the suggestions that you have left on the previous episode in the comments. I also received some suggestions over on Instagram as well, and I thought I would maybe show you some of my previous projects that I have used smaller amounts of yarn, of different colours of yarn, like for example my Marled Magic sweater and my striped S-Jan would be a couple of examples to show you. So that's my plan, is that I'm going to do a special episode on that. I just really wanted to say thank you to everybody who had left a comment there already, and I'm really looking forward to putting together that for you and sharing that with you really soon. Okay, almost at the end. What's bringing me joy right now? So, TV. I've been watching Secrets of the Museum, which is the Victoria and Albert Museum documentary series. There are 6 episodes. I'm just taking it really slow, 1 episode at a time, like I'm savouring it. I don't want it to go too fast. I'm so enjoying it. So I've watched the first 2 episodes, and they focus on a couple of different departments in each episode, and each department will focus on a particular item. There will be some restoration that needs to be done on the item, maybe some cleaning, some mending, some repairing, And then there's a little bit on the curation of it and the display of it. I just love everything about this TV show. So it's on the BBC. I'm not sure whether that's going to be accessible if you're outside of the UK, but certainly if you can watch it, I do recommend. And then I'm actually just really looking forward to like a whole load of shows that are coming up. Great British Bake Off starts next week. I love Great British Bake Off. I really enjoyed the switch up of the well, actually I really enjoy the presenters, and they switched that up last year and it worked really well still, so I'm really looking forward to watching that again this year. Strictly Come Dancing is coming back. I love all those sequins and the spray tan and the cha-cha-chas, and yeah, that's glorious and wonderful Saturday night television, so I'm looking forward to that too. And the 3rd season of Sex Education on Netflix is returning tomorrow, I think. And I really love that show. I think it's so lovely and positive and really entertaining, very well acted. It just ticks all the boxes for me. So that's coming back as well. So that's 3 shows that I'm really looking forward to. Perfect for sitting and doing some knitting too. And then I just wanted to share a couple of YouTube videos actually. One was a perky bobbles tip. Taylor Seeking Cozy, who is the wonderful woman behind the dye company Fibre for the People. She has a great podcast, I'm sure you're already familiar with it. But she's been knitting a magnolia bloom jumper, and she was asking if anybody had a tip on how to perk up bobbles post knitting. Now, I have gone through a whole bobble exploration to find the best way for me to do bobbles. And so I did have a tip for how to do that. And I shared that with Taylor in a comment, and then she made a short video tutorial about how to do that so that you can see how I do that. It was actually a tip that I got from Skein on one of her podcast episodes a long time ago. So I can't even point to it, but yes, Skein is another wonderful podcaster that I'm sure you're very familiar with. But yes, so you can go and check out that little episode, that little tutorial from Taylor Seeking Cozy, where she shares with you my bobble perking technique. And the other video that I wanted to share with you too was from Curious Handmade, and that's Helen Stewart, who's the wonderful designer behind the Shawl Society and the Sock Society. And she has done a video on how to make your own yarn advent calendars. And you might see there's a lot of wonderful hand dyers yarn dyers that create advent calendars every year, and they are a huge amount of work. Can you imagine having to come up with that many colorways, and then to do the dyeing, and then to skein up these mini skeins and package it all up and then send them? I mean, it is a power of work, and fair play to them, because that's it really must be a huge investment of time and creativity. So yes, most impressed that so many choose to do it, and so many do it so well. But you may find that that the pricing, which obviously reflects the amount of work and talent and skill and everything that's been poured into it, might be beyond you, and I completely get that. So for a more affordable option, perhaps this is where we start to turn to our own scraps, and maybe we start to make up little yarn advent calendars and maybe do a swap with our friends instead. I've done yarn advent calendars with my mum for the last couple of years. I'm not sure if we're doing one this year, are we, Mum? We need to have a conversation. My parents are moving house towards the end of this year, so I think maybe we might have to put a pause on it and start again next year when we have more time on our hands. But we've done it the last couple of years, and it's been really enjoyable and very fun, and it's been a really good way to access and use up some of the things that we have in our stash, and supplement it with some other bits and pieces too. We can't resist. But Curious Handmade has a whole episode, I think it's about 15 minute video about how to make your own advent calendar. So I just thought I'd share that as well in case you wanted to work on that, to bring a little bit of joy in the coming season. And the last thing that's bringing me joy is my window boxes. Again, thank you so much to everybody who left comments on what I should plant in my window boxes. I am not really very familiar with gardening and window boxes and all these kinds of things, so that your advice was greatly appreciated. I managed to find a couple of window boxes that are a bit larger than the ones that were there already and a little bit deeper. And so I got those. I got some compost, peat-free compost, and I got some bulbs. So I've planted some miniature tulips, some narcissi, and some miniature irises to come up over the spring. So that's further down in the box, and then further up I've got some beautiful plants. I bought some bright pink cyclamen, and I also got some viola as well. So they are all planted up and looking really, really pretty. And I also replaced the fairy lights that were on the railing because they weren't working anymore. So I replaced all of that. So it's all set up now and it all looks beautiful, and I'm really pleased with it. So there you go. That's the other thing that's bringing me joy, is my window boxes. Which brings us to the end of today's episode, and I did just want to share with you a beautiful piece about joy by the poet David Whyte. He wrote a book a wee while ago now called Consolations, and there's a chapter called Joy in it. So I just wanted to read you a little excerpt from that, which he had shared on his Facebook page. And I do recommend that you go and follow him on Facebook, because he shares quite a lot of his work there, and it's really very beautiful. So here we are, David Whyte, Joy. Joy is a meeting place of deep intentionality and of self-forgetting. The bodily alchemy of what lies inside us in communion with what formerly seemed outside, but is now neither, but become a living frontier, a voice speaking between us and the world. Dance, laughter, affection, skin touching skin, singing in the car, music in the kitchen, the quiet, irreplaceable and companionable presence of a daughter. The sheer intoxicating beauty of the world inhabited as an edge between what we previously thought was us and what we thought was other than us. To feel a full and untrammeled joy is to have become fully generous. To allow ourselves to be joyful is to have walked through the doorway of fear. The dropping away of the anxious, worried self felt like a thankful death itself, a disappearance, a giving away. Overheard in the laughter of friendship, the vulnerability of happiness felt suddenly as a strength, a solace and a source. The claiming of our place in the living conversation, the sheer privilege of being in the presence of a mountain, a sky, or a well-loved familiar face. I was here, and you were here, and together we made a world. Thank you so much for joining me today, my loves. I hope that joy is easy to find. I hope that you receive it well when you find it, and that you go well over the coming weeks until we meet again.